Marsha the Great here. Listen, this is going to be quite a poignant one, poignant post to make. Just be aware that the reception from this side of the room is really not good. I think it's partially because of the remote weapons that are fired in this direction from outside. So, you know what I mean? So just be aware it's going to cut out and in, and you know, the fucking transmission is going to be spotty, but we're going to get through it. Okay. Now, the reason why I wanted to make this video was because, okay, I saw a video by somebody called Robert Reich. Robert Reich is the former US Secretary of Labor, and he is now a professor and political commentator. And he has been one of the most outspoken people against Trump and one of the most outspoken people against racism and discrimination in general. I believe that he's white Jewish. I don't know that for sure, but I believe he might be white Jewish. But he has been against racism for the longest time, it looks like, especially since he was young. And the reason for that is that when he was younger, he knew someone called Michael Schwerner, who he called Mickey. I think it was another white Jewish guy, like based on the name. But again, I could be wrong. I shouldn't make assumptions. There was a gentleman called Michael Schwerner. Okay. And when Robert was little, he used to be bullied a lot for his size. But then there was this teenager called Michael who used to, you know, hang out with him and make him feel good about life. Along the way, they lost touch after a few years. So Robert went to get back in touch with him. What he eventually found out was that Michael Schwerner, Robert's friend, James Chaney, who was a black man, and Andrew Goodmen, who was a white man, were all they were all lured by a deputy sheriff. I can't remember their name. I don't want to remember his fucking name. They were all lured by a deputy sheriff, Cecil something or other. Who the fuck cares? I don't care. And he led them to a secluded area where all three people were cornered by Klan members. Now, what the Klan members did to these two white men and one of mine, well, not one of mine, I'm not black American, but you get the picture, a black man, right? What they did to two white people and a black man was beat them and then shoot them at point blank range. I believe that collectively they only got 6 years for that crime. And since finding out about this, Robert Reich from that point on refused to be silent about discrimination against black people, against women, against the working class, against queer folk. He refuses to be silent. To this day, he refuses to be silent because of the tragedy of those three men. Now, when I heard that story, when I heard about what those three young men, those three incredible, brave, courageous, moral young men went through, when I think about the fact that they were beaten and shot for having the temerity to treat all human beings as human beings, when I think about that, I realize how trivial it is that when I talk about defending ourselves against the far right, how bitter and ridiculous and foolish the trolls on my last video are. Well, not my last video, my penultimate video, second to last. I realize how pathetic those people are. But I also realize the hard work that is coming when it comes to defending people who truly deserve to be defended. Because what I notice is that the reason why people are turning against the progressive movement. A lot of people are blaming the progressives for being killjoys, and that's why ethnic cleansing is back on the rise. It's like saying that out loud, it makes it sound like the ridiculous shit that it actually is, right? Like, you told me off for calling someone fat. Now I have to kill people for being black and brown. Now I have to kill somebody for being a woman because you made me feel bad about telling someone off. Okay, cool. Right. What I notice about this time when it comes to progressiveness taking like a backseat to rising fascism, what I realize is that the real reason why fascism is on the rise is because now, it's like I said before, now is where the hard work starts. Being progressive isn't fun anymore. Being progressive doesn't just mean you can just fuck somebody of a different race and call yourself a non-racist. Progressive no longer means that you can be racist to one another as a joke and that shit will fly. Being progressive doesn't mean that, you can body shame somebody 1 minute and then the other minute say that they're beautiful inside, and now it's not enough anymore. It's not enough to not stand on your square when it comes to being progressive. It's not enough to not stand, not stand on business when you are a progressive. It's not fun to stand on business with your progressive views. It's not fun anymore for people. Now you can't enjoy the benefits of progressiveness without doing the work. That's the place that we're coming to. We're coming to a place where progressiveness is being battle tested, and a lot of fucking people ain't making the cut. Because now it's not enough to just be associated with progressiveness. You actually have to put the work in. You have to put up with hatred. You have to put up with people browbeating you, people trolling you. You have to put up with being blacklisted, being put on lists. You have to put up with standing alone at a time where people should be sticking up for you. Now is the time where more than ever, it takes hard work to be a progressive, and it especially takes hard work to be a progressive targeted individual, because the alt-right co-opted the targeted individual movement. So now it takes real hard work to defend the rights of black people, to defend the rights of brown people, to defend the rights of queer and trans people, to defend the rights of working class people, to defend the rights of children. Now is when the hard work starts, because now we're looking at how every single facet of our lives is built on racial, sexual, gendered, and aged hierarchies. Now we're starting to see it embedded in every single piece of society. Now here comes critical race theory. Now here comes queer history. Now here comes, if a child doesn't want to be hugged, then you don't fucking hug them. Now comes conversations about consent. And because people don't know how to self-soothe and hold themselves accountable without blaming themselves, now they're blaming all of this accountability. Now they're blaming the rise of fascism and the rise of the calls for ethnic cleansing on this accountability. Being progressive is hard work now. It's hard work now. I'm realizing that, but I'm actually glad to be a progressive at a time when it's really hard work to do so. I'm especially proud to be a progressive TI. I'm very proud of that. I'm very, very proud of that I'm willing to put the work in, not only put the work in, but put the work in by myself if necessary. I'm very proud of that. Because I know the hard work, wanting to do the hard work, wanting to really make sure the world is a fairer place to live in. I know that now, when I'm doing it, when the work is hardest, I know that's when the work is most meaningful. Because human beings are social animals. We're not ethical. So if human society is leaning towards fascism, it's got nothing to do with morals or ethics. It just progressiveness just stopped being comfortable. And now the tide is turning in another direction. That's all it is. Human beings are social animals. And what do social animals do? Survive. To do the hard work of standing by what you believe is a lonely enterprise. It's not something that's immediately rewarded, if it ever is. And yet it's worth it, because that is when the sacrifice is at its most powerful, when it's an actual sacrifice. That's why I'm happy. Like, I used to resent the fact that I'm not benefiting from progressiveness the same way everyone else is. Now I'm actually okay with it. I'm actually okay with it. The fact that I'm being trolled over calling out white supremacy, listen, man, I'm okay with that. It's a testament to how far I've come as a woman and how far I've come as a person. I fucking love it. You know? But yeah, that's why, like, fascism is on the rise, is because progressiveness is too much hard work. It's too much hard work to have to take accountability for your behavior and think of better ways to treat people. It's too much hard work. It's too much hard work when, for generations and for hundreds of years, you were taught that violence was rewarded. Why would you turn against something that worked for you when you can just continue to do it? But as for me, I can't let go. I cannot let go. And I to my inner child to say this is not an attempt to shame her, right? But I'm sorry. This is no disrespect to my inner child. I love her. I'm always going to love her. But I used to say and do some bigoted things, and not just against, like, white people, just for something to say, or brown people just for attention. I also used to do it with other black people that I felt personally were better at being black than I was, because that's what I was told and that's what I was taught. Right? So when I was younger, I used to be bigoted against all races of people. That's why I don't have sympathy for these people up here, because they're only bigoted against black and brown people. They're not bigoted against white people. Me, I was bigoted against everybody, including my own people. And the reason why I did this was for 3 reasons. One, I hated myself, because I was taught to hate myself, just for being me, not for my behavior, but just for being me. If anything, my bad behavior was usually rewarded with attention and attempts to understand me. The second thing is that I wanted to be heard. And I felt like being negative was the only way for me to truly be heard. And the third reason is that I was actually hurting. I was hurting. I was surrounded by abusive people all my entire life. And whenever I had the bravery to say to my father, I don't like the way you talk to me, or I had the bravery to say to my mother, I don't like the way you treat me. I think the way you treat me is disgusting sometimes. I used to say that to both my parents. I used to say that to my grandmother. I used to say that to my aunts. Sometimes even not my uncles. My uncles I didn't know that well. But I used to say that to my aunts and cousins. I used to say that to one of my uncles. I used to talk about the abuse that I went through openly. Even teachers are called out, and I was shut down repeatedly for things that I knew were true and they knew were true and they wanted to conceal. And they used my size as a young child in order to do it, and used their voices, their loud ass voices, because they have a humiliation button, their loud ass voices to silence me. That's what the fuck they did. So combining all of that, I figured out that being bigoted against people was not only the fastest way to hurt them, but the fastest way to be heard. And it didn't stop at race. It also went into learning disabilities as well. Went into that too. Because I wanted to be heard. I was being abused and nobody was hearing me. So I wanted to be heard. But I will say this. There are other black children, other brown children, other white children who went through the same as me, probably even worse than me, some of them, and they didn't do what I did. So like the abuse that I went through and the abuse that I'm still going through, let's be real, it's a reason, but it's not an excuse. There is no excuse for bigotry. There is no excuse for disrespecting your own, disrespecting people on the color of their skin or their ethnicity. There is no excuse. None. Right? No excuse. I can take accountability without hating myself. I love my inner child down. There's no excuse though. There's no excuse. So knowing that that's at the root of bigotry, what happened was that I started to be abused more, tortured more as I got older, but something kind of snapped. Something snapped in me, especially when I started becoming a targeted individual and I started to realize, because I was obsessive as well, because I have OCD, right? I started to realize through targeting how harmful my behavior was to people. It wasn't a quick thing. It was something that, you know, happened over the course like of a couple of decades, right? I started to realize how unhealthy it was to dehumanize people based on feelings that I didn't know how to deal with, and based on neurodivergence and mental health issues that I didn't know how to deal with. It's over the course of, you know, having people be obsessed with me, like bullying me repeatedly, contaminating my shit, breaking into my home, stealing my things, all that type of stuff. Like I started to realize how harmful bigotry actually was, and how harmful like bullying other people actually is. I actually learned that. And the more I went through gang stalking and the more I went through targeting, is the more I started to become really interested in the truth about Black and brown history, and the truth about queer history, and the truth about women. That's when everything started unlocking for me, and I started realizing how embedded bigotry is in our society, and how that embedded bigotry reinforced gang stalking. Gang stalking did not happen in spite of bigotry. It happened because of bigotry. So it really like unlocked things in me that made me realize, you know what? Bigotry ain't the way. Now I'm at the age of 40 and I understand that bigotry is not the way. In fact, bigotry is the theft of joy. It is the theft of ancestry and culture. It is the theft of evolution. And I can no longer sit by and not speak out against it. I can no longer sit by and be a participant in that bullshit, because bigotry is a thief of everything that truly matters in the world. It even set us backwards in terms of technology. There was one instance that I can think of, is that Native Americans or indigenous Americans came up with brains. These people came up with brain surgery at least centuries before white people did. And they did it at like what? A 70 to 75% success rate? Or no, actually, no, that's not correct. I think when Native Americans perform brain surgery, like the survival rate was like actually much higher than it was when white people just started doing surgery centuries later, brain surgery. So even racism even sets technology backwards. It set medicine backwards. That's just one example of how racism set everything backwards. When you talk about the mud huts of Africa, you're talking about homes that don't have mold. You're talking about homes that are well insulated, not only against the cold, but also against the heat. made from natural materials. That's what those mud huts do. In comparison to the brick places that we live in, my flat's got mold in it that I have to clean all the time because this house is brick. It's meant to retain heat because, you know, England's cold. There's two fucking temperatures in England, cold and very cold. So these houses here were made to retain heat. Mold grows from materials that are meant to retain heat. Spores enter the air. They threaten people's health, threaten people's respiratory systems. And yet we want to turn around and say that mud huts are backwards. Bitch, please. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I say racism is the literal antithesis to progress. The literal antithesis of it. And bigotry is the literal antithesis to progress. The amount of breakthroughs that women have made that were completely buried just because they were women. Set fucking human beings back hundreds of years at least. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I say doing the hard work. Doing the hard work. Because now you find out how embedded all of this shit is in our society. Now it's no longer fun. It's no longer fun because now you have to think about, as a privileged person, now you have to think about your own position in society. Now you have to hold yourself accountable for how you've been reinforcing this destruction of the entire planet because you thought you were superior. Now you actually have to think about it. So now fascism's on the rise. I'm not trying to think about that shit. Not me, but you know, because they're not trying to think about that shit. No, bring on the fascism, bring on the concentration camps. I'm not trying to fucking therapize my racial status in this world. I can't take being racialized the same way I racialize everyone else. I can't take being, you know, reduced to my gender or reduced to my sex the same way everyone else is. No, bring on the fascism. That's what we're dealing with from privileged people. And, you know, and the thing is that, what else was I going to say? I can't remember what I was going to... Yeah. They don't want no more of that. So they're bringing fascism back. They're bringing fascism back. Because to truly be, you know, and this is the thing that I've always said. This is the thing that I've always said, right? The thing that should fucking scare everybody is the fact that not only do we live in a white supremacy, we live in a white supremacy where the most privileged inhabitants of that society, right? They are literally more comfortable. Like they see having to be careful with someone else's feelings on the same level as the ethnic cleansing of millions of people. I'm going to say it again. They see having to be considerate with everyone else's feelings, having to give people fair opportunities, having to study history, having to know history. They see that as being on the same level as ethnically cleansing millions of people. That's what we're dealing with here. On the same level. Look through history if you don't believe me. They see that as being on the same fucking level. To them, the fact that we're learning about history, the fact that we're waking up, it, you know, for a lot of privileged people in this society, for them, it means their death. It means their death because, and the reason why they think that is because their knowledge of us meant our genocide, meant our Holocaust, meant our enslavement. So when we start learning about history to empower ourselves, to get ourselves back up on the ladder, right? Of course they get scared. And that's when fascism makes a return. You start talking about being a targeted individual and you start, you know, learning how to empower yourself as a targeted individual. Here comes Donald Trump and his cronies making gang stalking mainstream. You talk about, you know, the history of being black and how complex it is and how rich it is. Now all of a sudden black rage is like black rage is it sells now. Black outrage sells now. You realize how much unpaid labor you do as a woman, even by yourself. Now there's a male loneliness epidemic. None of this is by accident. None of it. You know? And as for me, at this point in my life, I'm coming to understand the fact that I was made, not born. And the reason I say that is because it took all of this struggle to really achieve my true dream, which was to be black as fuck, female as fuck, not feminine as fuck, female as fuck, and queer as fuck. That was my real dream. That and loving that person and loving myself. That was my actual dream. And I didn't realize it until now. And right now I am more I have ever wanted to be. Not in the way that I expected, but that's exactly what I am. And now at this time, I've got to find a new dream. And it includes speaking up for people who are invisible. It includes speaking up for the voiceless. It includes speaking up for the invisible. Because this is one of the things that I realize about my past with bigotry. First thing that I realized is this. Whenever I used somebody's arbitrary differences, whenever I used my enemy's arbitrary differences to call them out or to try to get back at them, I was, it was invisible people who would have been friends with me, who would have understood me, who would have been kind, who would have been decent, catching strays because I had to get back at some dickhead who was making my life miserable. So, like, it was like because I needed to get back at people that I didn't like, people that I didn't respect. There were other innocent people who I might have really vibed with catching strays like that. Do you understand what I mean? That's one thing I realized about this whole thing. The second thing that I realized is that many of the people, many of the allies that I have, they're not like me. They're not like me. They don't come on camera and talk their shit. Okay. Most of the people on my side are not dick riders and they're not cornballs. They are very intelligent, very reasonable people, kind people, people I don't bring back here because I don't want to expose them to this ghetto shit. Sorry, classist. My apologies. Let me say that again. There are people that I know, people that I love dearly, or people that I really, really like that I don't bring back to my home because I don't want to expose them to the nonsense that I have to deal with every day, not even to back me up. Because the kind of world that they live in, where logic and reason matter, where kindness matters, where courage matters, I want them to stay in that world. I don't want them here. I don't want them here in this world. I want them to stay in a world where kindness and ethical codes actually matter. I want them to stay in their world because I want them to be happy. I don't want them to be dragged into something that's ultimately going to bring them down as well as me. Fuck that. But who my allies are invisible, but they are kind, intelligent people. Wouldn't say boo to a goose. They're reasonable people. They're the kind of people who would talk to anybody. And I used to think that was a bad thing, because, if the only type of people I get are the type of people that talk to everybody, then my stock is low. Now I understand the opposite is the case. And many of these people belong to all kinds of different races, belong to all genders, sexualities, religions. And there are TIs among them too. And those are the people that I speak for when I make these videos. I'm not just speaking for myself. I'm the crazy one out of my group. So I have a responsibility to be on that shit. I'm the protector. Like, there are certain people who have soldiers. I am the soldier. I am the crazy one. I am the one who gets it on and popping. I'm the one who says people need to arm themselves. I'm the one. And that's fine. And where my friends are invisible, where my allies are invisible, my enemies are visible. That's fine too. Because if people like Michael Schwerner and James Chaney and Andrew Goodmen can get beaten and shot for love, then I can put up with looking like the villain. I can put up with people trying to run on a lie. I can put up with it because you know what? I'm done with the talking. I'm preparing. You see, the thing about being progressive and the thing about bullying as well is that when you stand up for yourself, people will try to villainize you as much as possible. They will lie and say that, you're this, that, and the third. They will lie about that. And then they will run on that lie and try to bully you with it. What I've learned to do is when people want to lie about you and run on a lie, let them. Because the most important thing for you to do is not to disprove their lie. It's to prepare for their lie. It's to prepare to defend yourself so capably with your actions. And I'm not talking about violence here. I'm talking about literally everything else in life. The point is to prepare yourself so thoroughly with your actions that either the lies are disproven or better yet, the lies don't matter. So people can call me a racist. People can call me a killer. People can call me it's like whatever they want. They can call me whatever they want. Because while they're running on a lie, I don't have I went back and forth with quite a few trolls in my comments and it was fun. But whilst I was going back and forth with them, I was studying. I was working out, making plans with my Section 21. You know what I mean? So there are people who want to lie about me and run on the lie. That's fine. Let them run on the lie. I'm going to prepare for the consequences of those lies. That's what I'm doing over here. Because that is how our fight for justice as TIs and as progressive people, that's how our fight for justice is diminished. Because we're spending like all this time and all this effort trying to disprove white supremacist talking points. Okay, fine. You've learned everything about like critical race theory. You're supposed to learn these things. But what you're supposed to do with these things is you're supposed to plan and make preparations for when the lies about your race and your culture inevitably show themselves. We're supposed to be preparing for the lies, for the consequences of what happens when the lies are run on, rather than trying to argue against the fucking lies. That's what we're supposed to be doing. When we get caught up in arguing with lies, we leave ourselves behind trying to intellectualize and explain. Meanwhile, the people who are running on the lies about you, they've already pissed themselves off to the point where they're willing to act. That's where we need to be. That's where we need to be. So that's why I'm like, a lot of the commenters said I was racist. I'm like, okay, cool. You're racist, you want white people dead. All right, if that's your takeaway from it, that's cool. Look at it. You're a marshmallow. Cool. All right, cool. Means I'm tasty as fuck. That's fine. You're typical. Am I typical? That's been my fucking dream. To be typical black. That has literally been my fucking dream since I was a kid. Bitch, please. You know what I'm saying? Let them run on their lies and their insults and their bigotry. Let them run on it. Don't try to explain nothing. Don't try to fucking reason with nobody. Again, with me, I went back and forth and, I trolled the fuck out of them. Reasoning is a whole different enterprise. I don't give a fuck enough to reason anymore. I give a fuck enough to troll. That's always fun. But like reasoning? No. No. Troll them back. Then get back to your life. Troll them back, then get back to your life and focus on what really matters. Let them worry about trying to argue you into the ground about things that you already fucking know. Let them waste their time. You got shit to do. I got shit to do. And that's why I tell, people of all races, targeted individuals of all races, anybody who truly believes in justice to arm up, like stop talking. They don't care. They don't fucking care. They've pissed themselves off with the thought of having to be accountable for other people's feelings to the point where they're willing to have ethnic cleansing. Stop explaining. The far right have pissed themselves off to the point where ethnic cleansing is the only way they're going to cleanse their mortal coil. Stop explaining shit to them. Just stop. You want to troll them back, but stop justifying why you deserve to be alive. Just stop. They don't care. Because, baby, they got lies to run on. What you need to be preparing is for the consequences of their fucking lies, like I said before. Know what I mean? I can't let go, man. After hearing about Robert Reich, like I've heard about black people and white people and brown people being killed for justice before. Like I've heard about it before, but there was something about this particular thing in juxtaposition with my own experiences that made me think, nah, it's villain time. It's villain time. Hey, yeah, man. Like it made me realize I can't let go. This is where the hard work is needed. If I have to do it on my own, fine. But this is where the hard work is needed with targeted individuals, black and brown people, women, fams, working class people, children. This is where the hard work is. Disabled people, this is where the hard work is, including people with learning disabilities. This is where the hard work is. This is where the hard work starts. This is the hard work that everybody should be doing in order to maintain a proper society where people can survive. Where people can survive starvation, where people can survive the harder times. The hard work needs doing now. So fuck all that. I'm on my villain shit. I said what the fuck I said. TIs of all races, arm yourselves. Black and brown people, you need to prepare. Any white people out there, and I know there's a lot of you, any white people out there that truly believe in justice and truly believe that people of all colors deserve to exist. And not just people like people in my comment section talking about the shit. I'm talking about the white people who are about the shit. You need to prepare. Disabled people, you need to protect yourselves too. Especially those that are physically impaired. You need to protect yourselves. It's villain time. It's villain time. And that doesn't mean go out looking for trouble. It doesn't mean like go to the nearest protest and fucking like look to arm yourselves like that. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is protect your homes and protect yourselves. And when somebody's coming at you, let them know that shit ain't sweet. That's what you need to be prepared for. You need to be prepared to be able to do that. So Robert Reich, shout out to you. Again, he probably wouldn't like side with somebody like myself. A lot of the people that I watch and research and things like that wouldn't talk to somebody like me because it would be a threat to their power. But I listen to them anyway. and I learn from them anyway. So shout out to Robert Reich. And yes, sir, you're very correct. The world's bullies, they need to be put in their place. They need to be put in their place. But unfortunately, like, handling everything one way isn't going to do it. We need, like, there are some of us that are fighters. There are some of us who are, peacekeepers and diplomats. There are some of us who are artists. There are some of us who are STEM, right? We need to stop getting caught up in doing things in just one way. And everybody needs to use the arsenal that they actually have. So yeah, shout out to Robert Reich, and to my fellow targeted individuals of all races or genders or sexualities. Know that I'm with you. Okay. And I love you. Okay. And yeah, peace and blessings to you guys. Take care.